Guys, I just spent a really weird amount of time trying to perfect the oven mitt. Now, you see, the problem I always had was that puckering thumb. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever noticed that? That junction between finger and thumb, right here. Now, here's a little secret. Instead of going up or anything like that, I went out. See? Can you see? Do you see that? And that's the secret to the whole thing. So over here was one I tried on a different one. Now, whereas the thumb is perfectly out and hardly puckered at all, it's just a bit too skinny. So I added some girth to her. I even added my name. Second thing I hated about making oven mitts was that every single person said to go get that weird heat resistant batting. You know, the stuff that sounds like a chip bag? It makes the oven mitt feel so cheap. But there's two alternatives I got for you. You can get that insole fleece, you know, the fleece with the silver side on there. That works really good. No crinkly whatsoever. Another option is this cotton batting that you can get off Amazon for really cheap, actually. And it's from the store Plantational. Now, take a look at that. You see what I mean? It's not like your typical batting. It's not like Pellon or Hobbs or anything like that. It's just thick. It's super, super soft, but it also sheds a lot, so beware. And it picks up things like you wouldn't believe. It's great for oven mitts. It's great for other little projects, kind of like that. And I've used it in several oven mitts, actually, and it works just fine. I haven't burnt a finger yet. Here's a quick demonstration of me using the oven mitt with just the plantational batting and nothing else. Oven is at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, so our pan should be nice and hot. Check out those tots. Not bad. Will say though, if it was imperative that I had to hold that for longer than, I don't know, 30 seconds, you can start to feel it through this. But if you're just pulling it out and putting it up, you're fine. If you want to be a little bit more on the safe side and add some insole fleece, go ahead and do that. I would do that if I had some, but at the moment I don't. So it appears I'm in quite the pickle. Slap your template on top of your lining fabric and just do a rough cut, because I gotta iron this anyway, so you probably do too. But then again, you might be more prepared than I am, so just go ahead and get this out. You know, oven mitts are actually a really great fat quarter project. I used to just go and get one of those fat quarters, the solid ones, over at Walmart for $1. What are they now? $1.30, I think they are now, something like that. Now that you've got everything ironed, or at least I do, I like to put everything right sides together. So I just do that, and then that guy on there, sure, yep. And then you can just grab a pen or something. It doesn't have to be erasable because you're not going to see these lines anyway. One thing you don't want to do though, do not use a marker. It will bleed right through, and yeah, it'll be visible. And just trace. You need a weight or something, you can just grab a 5-pound weight or whatever weight you got. Don't mind the condition of this weight. I bought it from some guy during the whole lockdown thing. You know what I'm talking about? A little something called 2020. When all the weights in the stores were bought out out, so I had to take to Facebook Marketplace. This old man was in his garage selling a grocery bag full of really questionable looking weights, but I was desperate to stay in shape, so I went ahead and bought them anyway. In case you're wondering why my pattern piece is all shiny, I like to put that peel and stick lamination sheets. I put that on top of my pattern pieces and it preserves them and it keeps them from bending and getting damaged. You could put it on both sides if you want to, but just, I don't know, I like it better on just the one side. But anyway, that's what I did. Just really want to make sure I have that line right here. Next, just go ahead, pull that up. And then you want to take your pins and put them through, just to keep everything in place so that when you start cutting, nothing is shifting. Here. He's not going anywhere. Now just go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. Now the next step is to cut these guys out. You can use a rotary cutter if you want, or scissors, but I tend to have shaky hands, so things don't go to plan when I use a rotary cutter all the time. So I'd rather just be safer rather than sorry. Go ahead and leave this one pinned together, the lining. Don't do anything, just leave it just like that. The top, you're going to want to pull all your pins out. And before we baste it onto the batting, now would be the time to go ahead and trace out how you want to quilt on this. If you're particular like me and you want everything to kind of line up, then do it just like this, where they're facing together, like their thumbs are kissing, just like that. Go ahead and grab a ruler, and then you lay it on there. Just like that. There we go. This is probably something that most people won't notice, but it depends on your personality. Are you a perfectionist? Then do this. Because then that way, it's when you turn it and you're wearing it, everything's lined up. At least I think that's the case. Logic would tell me that's the case. So yeah, go ahead and do that if you want. When you're doing this, obviously you're going to want a removable pen.
This is an oven mitt, yeah, it ain't perfect, but I try. My stitches run in circles, hope the quilting's looking fly. Patching up that thumb in a whirlwind of design, giving it my best shot, I'm creating one of many. The oven mitt's a gift, yeah, I hope my heart inside it shows. Crafted with my fingertips, it's a little love that grows. The person who receives it feel the warmth within the thread, but not on the fingers or the palms that would ruin its credit. Oh, it's an oven mitt crafted with a lot of heart. When you're baking cookies, it will play its little part. No, it might not be Chanel, but it's stitched with...
On to our next step. Grab your batting of choice. If you want that crinkly potato chip stuff, hey, go for it. It's your oven mitt. Do what you want. Make sure you got a little extra coming out the sides there. Looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut across the top. And then through the middle. That. With the extra stuff, this stuff is so soft and malleable that you could use this to stuff a pillow, stuffed animal. It works really good. Believe you me, some good stuff. Next, just go ahead and reach for your basting spray of choice. If you're wondering about this stuff, I got it at Walmart for $10 and it's really good actually. It sticks really well. It doesn't affect my needle at all. Definitely recommend it. For some weird reason though, I saw it going for a lot more money on different stores, websites and whatnot. I don't know if I'd spend that kind of money. $10 was good for me. I wouldn't want to spend more than $10 on basting spray. That's just, it's just me. I'm a little bit of a cheapskate. I don't know if you can see it from that angle, but I have my walking foot on. One thing is I want a consistent thread color, and this gray does not go. So I'm going to go ahead and use this right here. I think this color is really good, if you can see that. Blends in pretty nice. I always start in the middle with every kind of quilting project I do. It's already starting to puff up all nice. So one thing I do to make sure that I'm staying on the line is I'm looking in between these two little feet there, these two toes. Oh, another thing I want to mention is when you're quilting like this, don't switch it around. Go all the one way first and then turn it and then go the opposite way.
It's stitched with love and flair, an oven mitt made just for you, for kitchen conquests everywhere. Every patch screams a story sewn from the soul, every loop a chapter making something whole, creating art within function, warmth in a stitch. Who needs a diamond ring when you have an oven mitt?
Okay, now that they're all quilted, we just cut them out. If you're more of a rotary cutter person, then this will be a lot faster for you. But like I mentioned before, me and my shaky hands. All right, just like that. Looks pretty good, huh? Cut out the other one and then bring it over to the iron. Get all those lines out of there. If you want to put one of those little loop things off of it, you can grab a scrap of fabric. Make sure it's as long as you would want it to be. This one's a little bit longer than I'd want, and this is 2.5 inches wide. I want to cut that down to 1 3/4 inches wide. I got this at 1 3/4. Slice that up. And it's super simple. Just go ahead and fold it in half like that, iron it, and then you'll see a center line, and then you want to take both edges into the center line and then iron it again, and then fold it one more time, and you will have this width. And then you can go ahead and figure out how long you want it. You could even sort of hang it off there, and I personally think that looks really good, so I would do that. Okay, I've got mine all nice and ironed, and what I'm going to want to do is just top stitch it on the edge there, or you can go down the center, it's up to you, but really want to make sure that's in there nice and good. I'm going to go ahead and put it in, I think I'm going to go down the middle on mine, which is 1/4 inch in, and that looks like it'll go right down. I have mine on 3 stitch lengths of 3, and I'm just going to go for it. And it looks like that. Looks pretty nice. No complaints here. And then go ahead, and it gets it flatter, nice and flat. And I want it right here. Let's see, I think that looks nice, if you can see that length. So I'm going to go ahead and leave maybe about an inch, ½ inch to an inch inside of there. And you can go ahead actually and just stitch it closed. Yeah, just like that. And then it'll get hidden inside here. So when you put it in, turn it around on the right side. Have it facing in like that. I don't want to risk having this come out, so I'm going to just go over it so that this right here gets caught in the seam allowance. I want this in here so I don't have any risk of hitting this pin with my needle. So just like that, get that little bit straight. And then you want to put your mitt right sides together, just like that. Line them up. In this case, probably clipping would make more sense. Go ahead and change your foot to just a regular presser foot. And I say that because for me personally, it's a little bit hard to get my exact seam allowances. And the seam allowance is going to matter because you're going to have a different seam allowance on your lining fabric to make sure you get a nice, good fit in there. The outer part of the mitt will be sewn at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're going to sew all down here, stop, obviously, leave this open, and sew all the way around. Back stitch. back stitch at the ends, turn it around. Okay, now I'm just going to back stitch over this thing, keep it nice and secure. Now this is the important part. So this seam guide is going to get a little bit in the way. I'm going to move it to ensure that I get that little junction spot. Go in, one more in, turn at the thumb now, and very important, go straight. That's 3, and then turn up, and then this is about where you can get your seam guide back in play. And go. That is completely done. Some parts are a little crazier than others. So grab your pinking shears if you got them and just cut along the curves. Careful not to cut through those stitches. Alright, and I'll show you what to do if you don't have them. Just grab a regular pair of scissors and make notches. Just like that. And do that all around the curves. Sure in here. I'm gonna cut this out. Really make sure got some movement on that thumb. Alright. So this we can turn right side out now. Already I'm liking the girth on this mitt on version number 2 than on the one I showed you that came out really skinny. Alright. Oh. You've got one of these things, some kind of pointer thing, whatever they're called. You can shove all these things out. It's a lot easier than using a finger. I got this on AliExpress for about $1, I think it was. Alright, and then you just smooth it all out. Up here, you can see that all nice and smoothed out. Okay. Looks pretty good, huh? Look at that. Nice. All right, yeah. That's looking good. Next is the lining. So to do the lining, I'm going to add seam allowance. I'm going to move it back a little bit, maybe about 1/8 of an inch more, I think, if that's accurate. Basically, if you've got a juki, then move it on to the 7. Whereas I was right before this little 5, which would be the 1/4 inch mark. Move it back to the fake 1/4 that the juki claims is a 1/4 inch. That's actually not. Move it to that. I think the 7 is centimeters. Would that be right? Now, also real quick before we start on this, you want to leave this part right here open because we're going to birth the glove out of that thing. It's going to be basically like a snake shedding its skin. I want to make sure I'm actually, all right. Back stitch, go on down. All right, I'm gonna stop right here, back stitch, cut the thread and move down. Start, back stitch, all the way down, back stitch. Got my thread. And pull these guys out. Turn it around and just go all the way around until you meet right here. Oh. All right, we're getting to an important part again. All right, stop there at that junction. In the right spot, yep. Move forward. I went forward 3 times. I'm going to go forward one more time because the seam allowance is bigger now. A little bit more. You'll be able to see that when you're doing it. Okay, see that? Now it lines up right here, so I know I can go up now. And cuts. Pull the rest of those pins out. Leave it like this. Don't do a thing. Go ahead and cut your curved either notches or with your pinking shears. Do that. Cut some notches right down to just about almost there, but not through them. And just to show you that if you didn't have these pinking shears, that you could just do this. You cut all the way down. Almost there. And then you would just kind of remove some of that bulk, but you still have your notches. Okay, again, leave it just like that. Take this guy and put it in so this way right sides are touching each other. I'm just going to go ahead and cut some of this bulk off right here. And I'm leaving this side alone though. I'll cut this part right here, but don't cut this part that's open. You're going to need that later. So when you get towards here, just kind of fan out a little. Next step, line up these guys, the seams. So I just open them up. And I don't really have a whole lot of seam because I went ahead and took the liberty of chopping that guy. And then over here, you can see this one a little bit better. There's more. For some reason I left more over here. But yeah, I'm so close that who cares? Okay. Open that. Bring it down. You can see that they're together. Together forever. Kind of the same as if you were doing up a bag. Okay, grab this. Same thing. And then you're just going around. I'm going to pull this one out so I can get it in. I'm going to bring that seam allowance back down to 1/4 inch about. Put it in. Looks like my thread came out. Put it underneath. Drop that presser foot. Forward, backward, and forward. And we're just going all the way around. All right, and now we're meeting up. Back stitch. Okay, so this is now where you want to birth the right side out of the lining. Bring that out. You've got a tool. Go ahead and use it. If you want, you can go and iron that down all flat, or you can just, you've already, to me it looks pretty good, so hold it in like that. It should automatically want to go in. Let's see, that's an opening. Okay, so then bring it back over the machine, and I want to just get it right on the edge. What I like to do is, I guess you could say, straddle it. One of these. That way the needle's just going right in. Let me just double check. Okay. Right here. And no one's going to see this, so you don't need to match threads or anything. But if you were an ultra perfectionist, then go for it. That's the end of the line. Back stitch and go off. Almost done. Now we've got to, oh, whoops. Make sure you're actually catching the other side. All right, let me try that again. Okay. It happens, it happens. All right. Get that in there. All right. Stuff the thumb. And just move your fingers around in there to get everything in place. Looks good, feels good. Very roomy in there. And then just sort of roll at the bottom a little bit. So that we have a nice even and then lastly, just going to go ahead and top stitch this. It's a little hard to do it like that, so I just do it this way. And in the bottom bobbin, I've got the cream color, but for the top, I'm just going to go ahead and switch that to green just because this is visible and I am giving this to someone, so I do care. I would push it a little bit, maybe like a scant, just one more, so that this is right up against the bottom. And move that to 3. And then I try to be a little more subtle with my back stitch. I just go back twice. Okay.
Wow!